Hello future tech leaders, I'm Sindhuja. Based on my own experience, I know that learning the right skills can shape our future. What if I say learning was as thrilled as the tech world itself? There we go. A cloud foundation, that's exactly what you will experience. From day one, you will be immersed in the interactive sessions and expert-led courses that covers most of the widely used technologies in the zone of data science to cloud computing, which brings more light to the life of a techie. I'm so excited to help you and unlock the true potential of a technology. Well, then why to wait? Let's see what it unfolds.
So click on Require Password Change on the next login and you can add the roles over here. So if you see, I have Administrator, TOE Project Manager, TOE Sales Manager. And where can I see those roles if I go here? This is where the roles are added. I can go into each role and I'll show you how things work. So this is where let me add another role. I'll say I add the AP Clerk. And then this is how you give the access. You just click on Save for a first-time login. You will give no send notification email and require password change. But if you're just adding the role like the way I did, then that's it. After adding the role, it will not be visible straight away. You have to log out and log in. That is when it will be visible. But for now, I will switch to a different role and I'll show you how it will be. If I click on Project Manager role, this is a Project Manager role. However, I still see the same tabs that you can see here. The reason behind that is this particular role has got a classic interface. There is something called as classic interface. So the look and feel would still be the same as administrator. However, they will not have access. Now you see, AP Clerk is also added now because I have added this role to that employee. Correct. So the look and feel is still the same as an administrator. However, if you see under transactions, I don't see the purchase orders. I just see the customer deposits, employees, and certain things are not visible. Just like the way we had it for the other role, administrator. I don't see all these things because this particular role does not have all the permissions that the administrator has. So if you do not want the classic interface, you can go to the set preferences and you can go to the appearance. There is something called as classic interface. If you scroll down like this, so as of now it is still. It doesn't have the classic interface selected, so I can save it. So when I save it, it changes to the classic interface most of it. So let us go into a different role. Actually, I'll show you. Let me go into AP Clerk role. Now you see the tabs have reduced, correct? That is, the most of the tabs are gone now. I see the vendors, vendors and financial are not a part of the administrator tab at all. I mean, these headings that you see over the tabs are not part of the administrator. So what you can do is go to set preferences now. So if you go into set preferences now and change it to classic interface, this is a good example. I scroll down, I click on classic interface. Once you save it, you will see that it will change to the administrator look and feel of an administrator. However, they will not have all the transactions. You see, this only purchases and the purchase orders. There is no sales orders for this because his AP is accounts payable. Accounts payable is purchases. So he will have purchases, payables, inventory only, and these headings will match with that of the administrator. So the reason why people use the classic interface is when you are training the end users. You're training them on the NetSuite. So you will train them using the administrator access. So they will see all these payments transactions list as the way they see from the administrator view. So that is the reason most of the users will switch to the classic interface. But the level of permissions would still be the same as that of that role. You understood the concept? Yes. Now let us go to the roles. So you will understand this more when I'm talking about this. So let us go to the roles. If you click on Manage Roles, this is a Managed Role screen. So here you have all the roles defined within the system. Now, when I click on this custom or so, you will see the custom and standard roles here, which means whatever is standard. I was talking about a bundle. When you install your NetSuite bundles, all the standard roles will be created automatically, which means there is an AP clerk, there is an AR clerk, an accountant, administrator, bookkeeper, buyer, CEO, CFO, CPO, Chief People Officer. So these are all the standard roles based on the industry standards. Based on the industry standards, NetSuite feels that AP clerk should have certain permissions. So there is a standard role assigned for that. And then AR clerk, whatever accounts the receivable clerk does. All these permissions are predefined. So if the customer wants to change the permissions now, let us say I have an AP clerk standard. However, there is a permission missing for the AP clerk which I need for my business. In that case, what they do is they click on this customize option and they will create a custom role. Just like the way we have created custom forms. If you remember, I have shown you how to create custom forms, how to create the fields on the custom forms, how to select those custom forms. So just like the way the custom forms are created, these custom roles also can be created. So what are custom roles again? Custom roles are nothing but see this custom AP clerk. What you can do is this is actually created from the standard AP clerk role. If you click on this customize option, it will take you to the roles main page. So this is the roles. Now here you can actually change the name of this. This is not a custom thing. I say we are dealing with BMW client, so I can say BMW AP clerk. So likewise, I can create a BMW LR clerk BMO, accountant BMO administrator BMO CFO. And I will use only these roles. I will not use the standard roles. The reason behind not using the standard roles is there might be some permission. So if I scroll down now, these are all the transactions, reports, lists, setup and custom record. What are transactions? These are the transactions. What are reports? These are the reports. List this. Set up this. So, out of the setup, what all permissions do you need to this AP clerk? Out of these reports, how many reports do you want to give access to the AP clerk? Out of these transactions, what all transactions do you need it? So if you scroll down, I feel that my AP clerk does not have access to adjust inventory. I want to give access to the adjust inventory. So I click on this adjust inventory, and then there are 4 levels of permissions. These are called the levels. This is the permission for each transaction, each report, each list, each setup, each customer report. And this is the level of permission that I can give to my users. So what is the level of permission? You have 4 levels: edit, view, create, and fold. What does this mean? View is the least permission that you can give to anybody. So if I give view access to bills for you, you will just be able to view that and not be able to do anything. You cannot edit, you cannot create, and you cannot delete. Clear on this? Any questions? Yes. Tell me. It's clear, sir. Good. So what I'm saying is for any transaction, for any report, for any list, any list means everything under this list will come under that permission. Everything under the setup will come under the setup part. Anything under custom record, if you're creating a custom record, it will show up here. So if you give a view access to any of this, the users will just be able to view and do nothing. The next level of permission is create. So what can they do? They can view and create, which means on the purchase order transaction, I have given create permission for them. All they can do is they can see the purchase orders. They can create a purchase order. However, they cannot edit a purchase order or they cannot delete a purchase order. Edit in the sense, once you save it, this particular user can do nothing but just to create the purchase orders. Now next level is edit. What happens in an edit? These people can view, these people can create, and these people can edit. Now, when you see full, that is when they can view, create, edit, and delete. That is the difference. You understood? View is just view. No create, no edit, no delete. And here no edit, no delete. Here no delete. Here it is. Did you understand what is the difference between view, create, edit, and fold? Yes. So that is how you define the level of permission. And who decides this? It is not we. Customer will tell you if this particular role needs an edit access on this transaction or not. Customer will tell you if they need view, edit, create, or whatever. So you will just show them how these things work. But you won't create the roles and give to them. What you show to them is this is how you define your level of permissions for your employees. So it is up to you. You can create your own BB member role and then assign the access as per your business requirement. You will not get into all these transactions. You will not get into those reports and you will not set it up for them. Usually, role setup is not a part of the statement of work. Clear so far? Likewise, we were talking about the transaction. So if you go into the reports, since this is a AP clerk role, you know you have all those purchase order reports and everything. So if you want to give one more report which is there in this list, and by the way, you can give access only to something which is there in the list. If it is not there in the list, you cannot give access. And 100% of what is there in reports, 100% of what is there in transactions will be available as a permission under this. See report customization. Now I have shown you how to customize the report a little while ago. So this particular person does not have access to that. So that is the reason what I can say. I'll give full access to this guy. So even for this role, permission must be unique, which means report customization is already there. You see this report, customization is already added, and that is the reason we are not able to add it again. So click on cancel. You can give accounts receivable. Accounts receivable usually are FTR, but you can see view. Certain permissions will have only the view access. So you cannot have all the 4 levels of permission for certain transactions or certain reports. Now lists. What all comes under lists? You have your tasks, task records. You know all these are the part of lists, so you can add any. So what I'm trying to suggest is if I do not see, if I go into transactions, after going into a role, I can switch into a AP clerk role. Once I switch to an AP clerk role, if I don't see something here under purchases, I'm not able to see the enter purchase orders. The reason why you're not able to see the enter purchase orders option is if you scroll down and transactions, maybe that option itself is not there. So this purchase order full access, if you don't give, then obviously you will not be able to see the purchase order part over there. Likewise, under transactions, if you go to transactions and let us say I go to the sales. Enter sales orders. Enter sales orders is not there for this guy at all. Because he is an AP clerk. He is an accounts payable clerk. And he doesn't need the sales orders to be there. And that is the reason it is not there. So if I switch the role now, which I'm not going to do, I'm getting locked out. If I go to this AP clerk this transaction under the sales, it will not be available for me. I think you remember. The sales tab itself was not there when I switched into AP clerk role. The reason behind that is there is no permission given. So if there is something not visible in each role, then that is that permission is not added. As simple as that. That is one thing. Now the second thing is, even if there is access, let us say I have the sales after switching into AP clerk. I see the sales, enter sales order option. But when I go into the sales order, I'm not able to do anything. I'm just able to view. Because the level is given as view. If they give edit, that is when you will have create option and I'm not able to delete. I'm not able to delete because full access is not even. Understand? So that is how you define the permissions and the levels. Any questions on the permissions and levels? I don't have any questions. Guys, can you hear me? Yes, we can hear you. So only at the permissions and levels. You don't have the questions. So coming to the access part. If you see accessible subsidiaries, there are several options. One is all subsidiaries. So, no matter what subsidiary you have defined on the employee level, if you select all subsidiaries, then this particular guy will have access to all the subsidiaries and he'll be able to make changes according to the employees. If you click on all options, which means there is an employee A, he has access. Only he on his employee record, we have given him subsidiary 2. But if he has a role which has accessible subsidiaries as all, which means he will be able to access all 1, 2, 3, 4 subsidiaries. Now what does active subsidiaries mean? Out of these 4 subsidiaries, one of the subsidiaries is inactive, which is number 3, let us say. So he will have access to 1, 2 and 4. 3 he won't have access to because that is inactive. Now what is a user subsidiary? When you give user subsidiary, this guy will have access only to the second subsidiary. That's it. Because only 2 subsidiary is on his employer report and we are saying that we have to restrict this guy only to access user subsidiary only. Just to give you a brief example of how this works. So when I say user subsidiary 2 and then user subsidiary, here there are vendors with 1, 2, 3, 4 subsidiaries. There are customers with 1, 2, 3, 4 subsidiaries. And there are purchase orders for all the subsidiaries. Again 1, 2, 3, 4. However, this guy will be able to view and make changes according to his permission only for the number 2 subsidiary vendor, number 2 subsidiary customer and number 2 subsidiary purchase order. He will not have access to 1, 3, 4. All the transactions which are listed are under 1, 3, 4. All customers under 1, 3, 4. All vendors under 1, 3, 4. Did you understand that? So, after selecting the user subsidiary, there is something called as allow cross-subsidiary viewing. If I select this, what happens is, as an employee, I will have access to number 2. However, I can see 1, 3, 4 but not make any changes. Same thing. I'll have 2 customers access full access according to the permissions, but I'll not be able to make any changes on 1, 3, 4 customers. I can view them though. So if I select user subsidiary and then select allow cross subsidiary record viewing, it means we are giving them the access for the other subsidiaries just to view the records and not make any changes. Any questions so far? Yes, sir. What is this active after GUM? All and active. Active, as I mentioned, out of 1, 2, 3, 4 subsidiaries, one of the subsidiaries inactive. This number 3 is inactive. It used to be there, but it's inactive now. So if you select that active option, the user will have access to 1, 2, 4 and not 3. Yes, got Now there is a fourth option which is selected. So when you select this option, there is a pop-up which comes in. So what I can do is I want this particular employee to have access to two subsidiaries. One is Australia, one is Canada. I can click on control and give access to Australia and Canada. So he will have access or, related all the transactions related to Australia and Canada, but he will not have access to the other subsidiaries. However, he can view them as long as I give this allow cross subsidiary view in, but if I remove this, he'll not be able to see the Nova Scotia. He'll not be able to see transactions from Mohan Electronics, Prashant Electronics, all these different subsidiaries. He cannot see. Now coming to the do not restrict sales role, support role and partner role. What is this? So what are this M? This core administration permissions. We won't give to anybody. We don't select it because only the administrator would have it. What is employee restrictions? Employee restrictions is as an employee. Do I need access to the other employee records? So no none, no default, which means you're not actually giving access for me to access Karthik record. Non-default to own, which means only my transactions. I'll be able to see and then own subordinate and unassigned. What is this? Which means I'm a supervisor. I'll be able to see my records. I'll be able to see my subordinate records and I'll be able to see anything which is not assigned to anybody. I can say allow me. And what is this? Own and subordinates only, which means my direct reportees. I do not want any others to be able to see. I mean that the transactions related to my subordinates and myself. That's it. So there's two-factor authentication required or not. So that is one of the things. And then these are the levels and permissions that you can add along with. There are some restrictions. Do you want to restrict them to a segment? Class, department, location, you can actually restrict the roles to those and then forms. So what all forms do you want to give access to this particular role? You can select each form from here. So forms also have got different. Different forms like transactions have got certain forms, items have certain forms, custom records, bill of materials, time entity, Raman, inventory detail and all these things. You can make these forms as preferred forms for these employees. So likewise under transactions you can give forms. Then for items you have different forms. Inventory form, non-inventory form. I told you. A custom record also. You have for bill of materials. You have different forms. All these can be selected. So that's it about the roles, guys. There is nothing else. On the roles part, I have extensively explained everything that is related to the roles. One thing that we have missed is if you go into the setup roles, there is something called as show role differences. So what does this do? Let's go there. What I'm saying is my base role is AP clerk. I will say I want to compare my AP clerk to an AR clerk and I want to see what all are the differences. If I click on show, so these are the differences. Accounts payable for an AP clerk, it is edit. None. Accounts receivable is none for AP clerk, edit for AR clerk. So like this, you can actually view what all roles. How are the differences? Has the permission level for each role? These things can be defined. I mean these things can be seen with the show role differences option. That is one thing. So if you go back again, my base role is AP clerk and I want to compare my AP clerk with multiple roles, which is R clerk, accountant administrator. I can click on control and do this. If I click on show with my AP clerk, I can compare all the roles that I have along with all the permissions and the levels you can export. What is the purpose of comparing the roles? What is the purpose? Great question. So the purpose of comparing the role is that if AP clerk has got a permission, one permission, and you want to see if AR clerk also has got the same level of permission. You can individually go into those roles and check. However, if you want one place to check everything, then this is where it is. And finally, do not forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel.